Now, the number of Scottish children being diagnosed with serious sight problems is on the increase. In fact, there's been a 17% increase in primary school pupils under the age of 12 being diagnosed with prescribed glasses or contact lenses. That amounts to nearly 20,000 children, and that number rockets up to 60,000 when including older children too. Campaigners are blaming bright screen devices, calling them a technological cocaine. What's going on? Let's talk to Morven Campbell, a clinical services manager at Opticians Black and Lizars. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
It's a global issue, isn't it?
It is.
I was speaking to somebody this morning who's in the business of testing stuff when it comes to eyes, and they said all over Asia this is becoming a huge pandemic, that children are becoming short-sighted.
Well, Asian populations have always been more short-sighted than Caucasian in this part of the world, but it's global. It's hit there earlier. There's some parts of Singapore that, for example, 19 to 23-year-old males, 97% of them are short-sighted. So,
and is that unusual compared to what used to be?
Well, compared to a couple of generations ago, yes, it's getting worse. So we know it's getting worse, and we know it's increased, and it's on track to have 5 billion myopes, short-sighted people in the world by 2050. So we need to know about it. It's been a huge area of research for the last couple of decades, and we know more now, and there are things that we can do. There's lots we don't know, so I think we do need to take quite a measured approach in the advice that we give patients.
What do we know then, if there's been 2 decades of research? I mean, the campaigners here are saying it's the bright screen devices, especially at night, this blue light stuff, but what do we know? What do you tell us?
Well, so there's lots of research out there, and one of the big theories initially was it was close work. Too much really kind of close work. And if you look at somewhere like China, they started rebuilding classrooms, putting bars on the children's desks so they can't get too close to their schoolwork, because they're really worried about this. They're hugely more short-sighted, and it's impacting the health of their nation. But actually, there's studies out there that show that more than close work, it's lack of outside time. We know that the more time children spend outside, the more protection they have about getting short-sighted.
So that's to do with focusing on the tree 200 metres away rather than something like your face, which you might be 6 feet from.
Yeah, indeed. An indoor world, everything is closer. So I think we have to be careful to blame it all on computers and tablets and smartphones. I think the world is changing, and a generation ago these things didn't exist. But let's be honest, our children are growing up in a world where they have to know these things. There is no job in the world that they're going to be able to do in another generation where they don't need them.
Because being short-sighted isn't great for your lens, is it? I remember learning a while ago that when you become older and become long-sighted, that's the lens flattening. Is that right?
Well, no. So there's a completely different thing that happens when you're older. Right. So as a child, you can be perfect, need nothing, or you can be long-sighted, or you can be short-sighted. And long-sighted, more children are long-sighted because their eyes are slightly smaller. So people who are long-sighted have slightly smaller eyes. People who are short-sighted normally because their eyes slightly bigger. And as a child grows, their eye gets bigger still and bigger still. And that's the problem. And short sight gets worse with age. So if you're starting younger, a child being short-sighted, it's likely to get worse. And if you have parents who are short-sighted, then your risk is increased again. So the age thing is something completely different. The lens in our eyes has absorbed UV light, and it doesn't change shape so readily to focus from distance to near. So you can be long-sighted or short-sighted and then also have the age thing on top of that. Or you can be perfect and then just need reading glasses when you get to your mid-40s.
I didn't have glasses as a child, but my brother did, and now I need the reading glasses, and Andrew doesn't need anything. He seems to be,
So his eyes have changed.
Yeah,
so, with age and with growing and all sorts of things, there's different patterns of change, but we certainly know from a short-sighted point of view, lots of listeners will recognise, I didn't need glasses as a young child. I got to high school. I then all of a sudden couldn't read the board, and I went to the optician and I needed glasses. They got a little bit worse for a few years, and then it settled down. And that's a recognised pattern of short sight. But what we're seeing now is it's starting a little bit younger, it's getting worse. And really short sight from an eye health point of view, because it stretches and grows the eye, the retina inside the eye, which is the sensitive part of the eye that sees, gets stretched, and it's almost like you end up with not enough wallpaper to paper a room. And it starts to, there are dangers from having, a bigger eye and, not enough retina. Everything becomes a bit more fragile. So that's why short sight is a worry for us.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. But the message is don't panic, get your eyes tested.
Yeah, get your eyes tested. And if you're worried about your children, bring them along to the optician. In Scotland, we're so lucky. Everybody can have an eye exam. Optometry Scotland have allowed that. So come along and speak to us.
Morven, thank you. Morven Campbell from Black & Lizars.